Let's move forward and let's go ahead and open this Foundation Design Book.indd file. And if for any reason you have a problem opening our file, you might need that IDML file for backwards compatibility. Anyway, what we're going to do is, before I do anything, InDesign can be kind of confusing and definitely can be a little overwhelming. So if I go up here to Window, I'm going to first do where it says Workspace, and then it's already on Essentials for my computer, probably is for yours. I'm going to click on where it says Reset Essentials so that we all have something that looks the same. Okay, so I'm going to click this little double arrow to collapse that. You ought to have something that looks similar to this. So what I want you to do is go up here to where it says Pages on this top right panel area and click on that. And what this does, I'm going to drag this open. What this does is that it shows you the orientation of all of the spreads, of all the page spreads. And I'm not going to be making you learn InDesign right this minute, okay? So, but there are some basic things that I want you to be able to do. So like if somebody were to give you a basic template file for something in InDesign, there's some simple things that you should be able to at least accommodate, like dropping picture files or something in there. And as we go further into the class, you'll learn a little bit more, even though this is not an InDesign class at all. All right, this is, just a beginning graphic design class, and so it's important to understand that this is not specifically a tool class, but this is the appropriate tool in this case for creating a multi-page layout document. All right, and so I'm providing the structure of that for you so that you don't have to do it, and you can just have a nice looking thing to drop your stuff in. So anyway, when you open up the Pages panel tab, you're going to see at the very top that there's some things called master. There's A master, B master, C master. And while I'm not going to, show you how to do all of this stuff exactly, I want you to at least be aware of what these things are. So in InDesign, you have your different layouts. You see, notice down here, all my pages have like the letter C or A or B or something attached to them. You have the ability to create these basic templates. They're called master templates for your pages and your spreads. A spread, by the way, is where you've got two pages side by side, as in you've got a book spread wide open, right? And so you can apply different masters or even submasters in some cases to different page types so that they have different layouts, and it keeps everything really, really formal and together. Okay, so that's what that is. Now, I'm not going to show you right now how to edit any of that. I actually have taken care of editing pretty much everything. The one thing that you will need to do, and you can go ahead and do this right off the bat if you want, is right here in Pages, the very first page that only has a right-facing page, if you double click where it says C, it's page 1, you'll see that it automatically pulls up this foundation book. I'm going to zoom out. If you want to zoom out, if you're not using a trackpad or a mouse that'll zoom very easily, then you can go down here to this zoom tool. If you click on the magnification glass, and you'll see it's natively going to be set to zoom in. If you hold down the Alt key on Windows or Option on a Mac, you can zoom out, okay? And the hand will move the work around on the pasteboard, okay? So that's how you can kind of navigate visually through, and you can, go to your other spreads and things like that. But right now, what I want you to do is select this black selection tool, and then up here where it says page 1, I want you to make sure that this little page 1 is blue highlighted. Okay, that's really important. You can't accidentally be down here on something even though you happen to be looking at this. All right, because the minute if I make any kind of changes through the menus and things like that, it's actually going to affect the highlighted page. So as soon as I click on here, though, you'll see on the pasteboard when I click here, it automatically changed its focus in the pages to page 1. So the first thing that you could do is, I'm going to zoom in where it says work by your name. I have, it's called a a text variable, I have a text variable set up so that all you have to do is type what your name is. All right. And let's say that my name is Lee Kottner. Okay. All right. So I've got that now. Now, the thing is that you'll notice now what it did was it changed up here in the running header. It's called a running header. On all these pages, it changed where it said your name before, it says Lee Kottner now. And if I were to go back here and I were to change this, oops, change this to Jane Doe, right? Then you'll see that on my running headers, it now says Jane Doe. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so that's the first thing that you can go ahead and do. I'm going to leave this, I'm going to leave it so that it says your name, okay? But you can go ahead and change that so that you don't forget to do it later. All right, so now I want to go ahead and show you where the photography pages are so that you can start adding your photography assets progressively to this project. So if you double click on where it says under the pages, double click the third spread, it should jump here to the page 3, and then you'll see these, you know, these 9 squares in a grid format, and that's where your photos for, you look here, it says point, and then down here it says photography investigation, learning to see design in the physical world, right? So that's where your point pictures are going to go. And if you over here in your page spreads, you go down and you find page 9, double click that, and you can see that this is the line section. All right, so we're in line, and then and the pages, you can double click on page 15, and you can see that that's the photography section for plane. Page 21 is the photography section for texture. Page 27 is the letter form photography, and that's the last of the photography sections. You still have other stuff in here that we're going to be doing for a different phase of the project, but those are your photography sections. Okay, so let's just jump back up here. Let's just go to the point one, all right? And maybe this is all you've got done right now. Because I am going to suggest that you do this in a progressive fashion. I think that's a good idea so that it doesn't kind of, you know, gang up on you in terms of work, you know, creep, I like to call it. So it creeps up on you. So if you come over here to choose the black selection tool, what you want to do is you're gonna see that you've got this space right here where you can add something, but you can't select it. And the reason, like I'm clicking, I'm doing all this stuff. The reason that I can't select it right now is because this was something that was on the master. And so it's not going to allow me just to right off the bat change something. But that's okay because the master understands whenever I place this thing with an X, it's like for objects. It knows that that means something's going to go there, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to File, and I'm going to choose Place. This should be something that's familiar for you. And just so you know, out here it says Command D, and that's going to be a keyboard shortcut so that it's nice and quick. It's a nice little quick shortcut, so every time you want to do one of these, it'll go really quickly. If you're on a Windows computer, it should be Control D. So anyway, I'm going to just go up for now. I'll click Place, and what you want to do, let me just make sure that we're on the same page here. Okay, you want to make sure that you are inside of your project folder, right? Because that's where my current file that I'm working with, this Foundation InDesign book, right? All right, that's where I'm working from. That's the current file we're in. I want to go inside my main project folder, and I want to go into where it says Photoshop. You know, it's the artboards for cropping photos, photots. And then I'm going to go inside of New Assets. Remember, we made these new assets, and then I want to choose the point for print. And then remember how cool this is now. Remember we made these artboards and we just left the artboard 1 through 9 at the end so that it would serialize it. Well, now I know exactly which one's supposed to go where. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to look at the you know, the little picture icon. So anyway, I'm going to double click the first one, and then let me show you. I want to blow this up. See where it's got this little picture icon right up next to the top left corner of my cursor? That's, you know, the top left registration of this little floating picture. There's a set of parentheses around the little picture icon, and I can't blow it up and have the picture icon get any bigger. But if I hover to the edge, you see that that little set of parentheses goes away. It's because it sees that I'm outside of this bounding container. All right, so I want to make sure that I have the parentheses. And what's nice is that when I do that, it immediately and automatically puts my work right there. Okay, now one thing that you might notice is that your picture seems more cropped than you remembered making it. So that is true. We made these in 3 by 3 inches, and one of the things that you'll notice is that these are not 3 by 3. Right now I've got the rulers set up in picas, and we can talk about that later. It's a unit of measure that is really common for graphic designers to use. If I right click up here, I can change it to inches, though you can see that this is not in fact 3 inches, it's more like 2 inches square, each of these things, okay, roughly. So it's cropping off approximately an inch, roughly. Now, if I like that, that's fine, but I'm going to suggest that you've already taken the time to crop them the way you wanted them. So if you click on this little center thing that pops up whenever you hover it, if you click there, you'll see that you get the bounding box for your actual image. And you can, if you know, like, you might actually find that you want to crop it differently, I don't know. But what you can do here is in this, you know, one of these corners, click and hold Shift and Option. Remember, Shift will constrain, Option will make it go from the center, and you can drag it in, and then it'll snap right at the end. It'll snap to your bounding box like that. And then that is the picture the way that I had it originally. So that's pretty cool. Now if I want to just come right over here, I can select here, but you see it doesn't actually select, so it's not a big deal. I'm going to do Command D as a shortcut. Remember to do a place, and then I'm going to choose my second artboard. Just click here, and then if I go in the center, all right, I'm going to just scale it back down with my shortcuts and snap it in place. And you can see how simple and quick this is, right? And I'm just going to place all of these in here, and I'm going to scale them down and get them the way that I wanted them to. Just take me a second. You can watch me do this. Let's click there. Hold Shift and Option or Alt on Windows. Let's do this one, Artboard 5, and then just have it snap right in there. Now, if you don't want to have to constantly do what I'm doing with the scaling, let me show you another trick. Let's do Command D. I'm going to place this here. The other thing you can do is you can right click, and you want to find where it says fitting, and you can do fit content proportionally or fill frame proportionally. Either one of those will be fine. And the reason is because it's perfect square to a perfect square. You'd have to be a little bit more judicious about which one of these you choose if your sizes weren't the same and you were masking stuff out. But because we have a square to a square and we want it to fit exactly, then either one of these is going to be fine. And then if you want to use some shortcuts over here, you could also use shortcuts. So it'd be Control Shift Command, or I guess that's Option, yeah, Alt, E or C. Okay, so anyway, I'm just going to choose that. And then if you wanted to take a look, and I'm going to hit undo, you want to just double check and make sure that they do look the same. You'll see that they do. Okay, so that's another way to do that, so you don't have to constantly drag and hold all those keys down, which is good. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish placing some stuff, and that's the last one. Okay, And so now you've got this page all set, okay? I'm not going to make you watch me do all the other ones, but I did just take a really brief pause to go ahead and do all the rest because I want to show you something that is even faster than what I was showing you how to do. I just want you to know all the different ways that you can put stuff in, whatever's easiest for you. I want to go down to the very last one of my spreads, which is the typography one. And you'll notice I put all of these in, but you'll see that a lot of them, the cropping maybe isn't that good, right? Because if I select one, you see that they're all too big. Well, it might be easier if you just place them all using Command or Control D, just really quickly, but then later go select them. I'm holding down my Shift key as I click on these, and it's selecting multiples at once. And you can either right click to get that menu, or you can use the shortcut, which in my case on a Mac is a Shift Option Command and then the letter C, and then it did all of them where it just cinched them right up. And this is, you can see the real benefit of going ahead and doing all your stuff in Photoshop to get it to look the way you want it to look first, and so that it can just easily snap to these bounding boxes. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to export it and then we'll be done. So this is obviously not the completed design book right now, but if you wanted to just export the photography pages so that you can turn them into the photography phase discussion, or, you know, particularly whatever the semester I'm doing it, I might have a different way of turning it in, but as of the time I'm doing this demo, so that you can just, you know, upload it to our discussion, then what you want to do is go up here to File. First of all, save it. That's the first thing. Let's go File, Save, and I just did that with the keyboard command. And then you want to go over here to where it says Export, and right now we already have something that's called Foundation Design Book. I don't want the empty one, so I can just overwrite the existing file because you see it's right here. And then down here where it says Adobe PDF Print, that's what you want. That's fine. You could do interactive, but we don't have any of that stuff set up. So what you're going to do is just regular Adobe PDF Print, and then you're going to hit Save, and then it's going to ask you, do you want to replace it? Yeah, we'll replace it. And then it gives you this like potentially quite confusing looking thing. Yours is going to default to having where the pages is set to all, but I went ahead and I typed this in. On our particular book, you're going to use a comma separated list of the pages. It's pages 3, comma 9, comma 15, comma 21, and comma 27. Okay, so you'll click the range radio button, and then you're going to choose to export this specific set of pages. And you're not going to choose spreads because spreads would give us both pages within the spread. We just want the actual individual pages for our photography study. Later when we're doing the full book, of course, we'll do full spreads, we'll do all pages, the whole thing, right? But for right now, what we're doing is just the photography layout stuff, okay? So if you wanted to take a look at all of these other things, you could. You could see, like, for instance, how it would downsample. I have this right now set to smallest file size. If this were going to truly be for print, you would want to do it at high quality. Because we're going to be uploading it to a discussion and we're only going to be talking about it, you know, using probably the projector or something and not putting everything up on the wall on print, I'm going to choose smallest size up here for the preset. But if you were actually going to print this and you wanted it to look nice, you would want to make sure that you go back and change this to high quality print. That's really, really important, because when you actually go to print your stuff for your actual book, you do need to change it. Otherwise it's going to look terrible and you're going to spend a bunch of money on something to print it, and it's going to look terrible because you're going to have to print this stuff in color later. Okay, so this is, I'm just like really reiterating this. I want you to remember. Okay, right now I'm choosing smallest file size, and then you can look at all of this stuff, and it's going to downsample stuff, the picture files, so that they'll be, you know, a lower resolution than the original 300, and it just makes the file size smaller. And then you can look at all these different things. I'm not going to worry about any of that for right now. And then, and it says, the preset specifies that some fonts are not embedded. This application always embeds fonts. Okay, that's fine. So we're going to embed the fonts. Great, wonderful. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click export, and then it warns me that the document's transparency blend space doesn't match. Don't worry about that right now. That's on some of the icons on some of the titles over here. I did a transparency blending mode. That's just part of the regular setup. Just don't worry about that right now. Just click OK. And then you'll see over here in our file system, it just created our file for us. And if we wanted to look at that file, you see now it's not the whole book anymore. Now it's just the photography pages. And this is what, whenever you're finally finished with all your photography pages, you could actually export the whole thing. And this is what you'll upload to the discussion board. And I would actually change this. So let's just call this photography-excerpts. And then you'd put, your name, your last name, or something like that. Okay. And then that's the file that you would upload. Okay. And then later, of course, you'll make a new file. You'll export a new PDF when you're done with your whole book.